Morning. I posted a video some time ago about how some teachers seem to think that children are manipulative and will get what they can from any given situation. And I watched back on the video recently because there was a comment put on it, and I noticed my anger when I was recording the video. I could feel the anger coming out and the frustration. And I can only imagine that it arose out of a situation I became aware of with one of my own kids, where the teacher had basically accused them of pretending to be anxious so that they could avoid doing schoolwork and avoid going to school. And they also, so this child has a diagnosis of ADHD now, and the teacher knew that they were going through the assessment process. They also told my child that they were completely capable of sitting still and being quiet if they tried hard enough. AKA if they masked and pretended to be a neurotypical child. I feel angry even thinking about it. And I know that this is where that video stemmed from. But it's got me thinking more about what do I mean by that, and particularly how do we as adults navigate this situation where we feel that a child is being manipulative. And I looked back over another of my previous videos which was about children acting out and whether it really is personal, because as we all know, when our children act out, it can feel deeply personal. They know exactly how to trigger us, which buttons to press. And, you know, part of the purpose of posting that second video was a validation that actually it kind of is personal because they know which buttons to press. But at the same time, it's not personal because the intention, the deepest intention, isn't to wound us. It's to somehow make sense of or communicate or navigate the mess of feelings inside them that they're not able to deal with. It's a survival tool, a survival technique. And if we look at manipulation purely in the psychological sense of the word manipulation, we all do it. We all try to influence our environment so that the environment is optimal for who we are, to meet our needs, so that we can feel safe, so that we can achieve our potential on any given day, so that we can maximize our output and be the best person that we can be on any given day. You know, so this might be, a manipulation might be encouraging someone to do more housework. It might be teaching your kids to be kind and compassionate because you want to have a pleasant home environment. When you look at it in the strictest sense, a manipulation is simply trying to influence your environment to your advantage. And when we look at it that way, who would not want to do that? Now, unless you've got someone who is mentally very unwell, people will generally manipulate their environment in order to survive and be happy and get the most out of their lives. They won't do it for the detriment of another person. So if as a teacher or a parent, you have a child in front of you that you feel is being highly manipulative, my suggestion is to, rather than respond to the behaviours, to try and get to the root, to the core of that child. So if someone is being rude or aggressive or trying to undermine other people or whatever it is that the behaviour is, take them aside with the thought in your mind that generally no child will behave in this way unless they have unmet needs. No child will behave in this way unless they're really trying to communicate something to you on a deeper level, unless something about their reality and their existence is not being listened to, is not being heard, is not being seen. And you can change that cycle by addressing that need. So for example, you could sit down and sit with the child and say, I've noticed that you don't seem very happy, or you seem really angry right now, and I'm wondering if you're aware of feeling angry. Or, obviously this has to lie within your own skill set and within the language that you feel comfortable using. But, with this example, you can directly address the emotion that you're feeling from them. You seem really sad. I'm wondering what's going on for you. I can sense that you're trying to influence your environment. It feels like you're trying to change something about the environment, and I'm wondering if you're aware of something that you're struggling with. And if you can try and spot that as the adult in their world, see, do they respond to auditory overload? Are they responding to any kind of sensory overload? Is there something you can change in the environment that helps them? Do they feel unsafe? Do they feel threatened? As the parent or teacher, you can only really address what's in front of you. If as a teacher, for example, you suspect there's something going on at home, then you can ask them if they're okay. And you need to figure that out in a way that fits in with the policies and guidelines of your school, and also in terms of what feels comfortable for you as an individual in terms of your style of communication. If as a parent you feel that there's something going on at school, then you can ask your child that. If your child can't communicate, then try and look out for triggers. So for example, if they start to get very anxious when you mention the word school, the night before school, on the way to school, then you can generally assume that it's school related. If they're school avoidant and don't want to go to school, it's certainly something about the school environment. As a teacher, if you have a child that doesn't seem to want to go home, or you notice something about their appearance or the way they behave that suggests they don't really want to be at home, it could be a home issue. If there are certain classes they avoid, have a look at those classes and see if there's something about those classes in particular, dynamics with other children. Maybe there's something that they struggle with in terms of the schoolwork. So really, I guess the nub of this is that I'm saying act like a detective, be a detective. If you have a child in front of you that you have some responsibility for, and you feel that they're being very manipulative, or they're acting out, or they're behaving inappropriately, now's the time to become a detective. And, you know, as we're taught in the therapy training I did, to not make assumptions, look at the information in front of you and treat everything equally. Try to gather as much information as you can from all possible sources that you have in front of you before making any judgments. Try not to make any judgments at all if you can, and try to ask open questions. And it may start off, you know, before you can actually ask any questions, it may just be that you need to start creating an environment where that child feels safe with you. So instead of reacting angrily when they're behaving badly, just say calmly, this behaviour isn't appropriate for this home or for this classroom. What can I do to help you? You don't seem very happy right now. Obviously, this is very complicated and can take a lot of practice to deal with such dynamics. So I hope that I've been able to give you some ideas about how to approach things differently, because if you have a child in front of you that's acting out or behaving manipulatively, chances are every other adult in that child's life will respond with criticism or requests for them to change their behaviour. And it will be the rare handful of adults that may respond with curiosity and empathy and support. So you can be that person for them, you know, taking the assumption that they may not have another person behaving in that way right at this moment. I hope this helps, and if you've got any other questions, please do let me know. If anything in here isn't clear, please do feel free to ask me for clarification. Take care and have a good week, everyone.